We are now joined by Kevin Harvick, the driver of the number 4 Jimmy John's Chevrolet, fresh off of possibly one of the most exciting races and finishes I've ever seen. So if you can reflect first a little bit on that race last weekend and that final lap and how it kind of played back. And have you actually watched it on television since?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. Obviously, it's still you wonder how things are that play out like that actually happen. But obviously, now that I know more of the situation and know how the guys behind us had tires, obviously we were definitely in more of a defensive position than I ever asked or was told. But at that point, it didn't really matter. So it wound up being a great finish. We had a great car. Obviously, we had the dominant car the last 150 laps or so, and it wound up being really close with a strategy call. But I think in the end, that's really what the soft tires, low downforce, and when you pit, you want it to matter and make a decision, to see the strategies play out. So in the end, it was a great day, and glad to get the win out of the way.
Well, you touched on that a little bit about the low downforce and the tires and all of that. Can you give us a sense after the first several races here at Atlanta and these two and what you're expecting? I know you thought we'd see some exciting racing here in Fontana as well. Tell us a little bit about the package and your perspective on it and how it's impacted the racing on a week-to-week basis.
Well, I think as a driver, especially last week, you look at myself and Dale Jr. and you look at the way you could go through traffic. It seems like the cars are affected a lot less by the aero push and being around each other. So they seem a lot less dependent on where you are in the field. Obviously, they're still going to be they're still not going to be as good as they were if you were the lead car. But I think we've definitely made some headway. I think there's obviously a lot of notes that have been gathered, and I think from a driver's standpoint, I think this is the race we've all been looking forward to the most. Just because of the fact that you have some high speeds and lots of racing lanes, and the cars are gonna slide all over the place. So it's definitely a weekend that we're all looking forward to, and this has probably been one of our better races throughout the years over the past several years. So it's going to be a fun weekend.
Good. Looking forward to it. Questions from the media for Mr. Harvick. We'll start with Jeff Gluck, and we'll go over to Jerry.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Obviously, this track has seams that aren't at most tracks. How do you attack the seams? Like, do you try to stay in between them? Do you put your tires in between them? And what is the penalty when you cross one, like on a restart or in a racing situation?
Yeah, a lot of it just depends on how this particular package reacts to where the groove is going to go straight to the wall, or the left side's going to lay a lot of rubber. I was watching the race from 2011, and the left sides would actually keep the racetrack clean. So right on the seams seemed to be pretty good because the racetrack was cleaner there. So you just have to see how the racetrack rubbers up with this particular tire. The hardest part about the seams is just getting hung on one. That's really what you don't want to do. You want to have the tires just below it, just above it, and split it. But if you have the tire right on it, it just grabs it like glue, and it goes in the direction that you don't really want to go in. So you definitely have to try to split the seams and be off of it with the tire itself in order to make time.
Okay, we'll go over to Jerry, and then to Kenny Bruce, and then to Wolfgang.
Jerry Jordan, Performance Racing Network, and Kicking the Tires. After the end of this weekend, we'll be 5 weeks in, 5 races down. Is it good for teams to be able to go and regroup, and how will that help you guys going forward to kind of evaluate what you've done and move forward with the season?
I think it's definitely good for everybody to have a chance to recharge their batteries. The West Coast swing is hard on everybody, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know. Just the travel and with the way that the schedule is now, you either have to stay out here or you're traveling back and forth, so you're going back and forth in between time zones. But the logistics of the race cars are the hard part, because there's really, there's 6 race cars that have to be prepared and ready to go when you take off from Atlanta. I mean, these aren't any of the race cars that you can basically race at Atlanta. I guess you could race them here, but you basically have to have 10 race cars ready, because you got to go to Daytona, probably 12 because you got to go to the shootout. So you got to go to the shootout, you got to go to Daytona, you got to go to Atlanta, you got to have everything ready for your West Coast swing. So, you're looking at 10 or 12 race cars that have to be prepared, at the beginning of the year, way in advance, and then the logistics of getting everything out and getting hundreds of people back and forth across the country wears on everybody. So it'll be a much needed break in order to kind of get into the meat of the season to not have to stay out west and do the things that it takes to run this West Coast swing.
Okay, we'll go with Kenny and then over to Wolfgang.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Kevin, how much difference does the speed and the layout here make as far as, are you guys going to be lifting going into the turns here like you would do at some of the other tracks, or is it, we're really not going to have to? How is that going to play into this whole package?
Oh, you're going to have to lift a lot. And I think you're going to have, you're probably going to have 3 seconds of fall off, maybe more, as you go through the run because the tires just fall off so fast. So you're going to have a lot of straightaway speed because of the low drag. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of off throttle time, and I think that the amount of time is going to change dramatically from the first lap to to lap 30. So it's going to be a huge pace swing.
Okay, one other thing, sort of off topic, but Ron Hornaday won a championship for you guys when you were a team owner, and he's on the list of 25 nominees for the NASCAR Hall of Fame this year. What did he mean to your organization when you guys hired him and brought him in?
Yeah, I've known Ron a long time, and for me, Ron was kind of one of my racing heroes as I grew up watching him race at Mason Marin and in the Southwest Tour up and down the state. So, he's been very successful at what he's done. He did a lot of that on his own to start with, and obviously he wound up with DEI. But I think as you look at where we were as a company, he brought a lot of he made our company legitimate from a racing standpoint because he brought in a champion, a winner, and he continued to win. We won a couple championships with Ron there. I think we won 40 or 50 truck races. So I think as you look at what he brought that instant approval of a winner and a proven champion and a proven winner in himself. So we knew we just had to get our stuff right, and we were able to to be successful together, and it was fun to see him be successful at the end of his career.
Well, Kevin, just a personal question. Will you and your team set up the clock for Sunday night to see what your sister team is doing in F1 in Australia?
Man, the time change is so much different. I was watching the Twitter feed, and they were out there practicing and doing all the sliding into the gravel pit I saw one time. So yeah, we're definitely keeping up with it. I don't know that it'll definitely probably be on the DVR though. So I don't think it'll be live, but we'll definitely be watching.
All right, any final question for Mr. Harvick? Kevin, thanks for coming
Thank you.
in. Good luck this weekend.